Roll call.
Parker. Here. Misselinich. Olson.
Here.
Zittergrun. Chisel.
Here.
Whittle.
Here.
Neal.
Here.
Roll call. Oh. How about if we go on to public comment? Is there anybody who wishes to speak to the council of any item that's not on the agenda? And none? City manager, department heads, and council reports.
All right. First item I want to point out to council, I anticipate a resolution on awarding the Decorah Athletic Complex at the June 2nd meeting. I have asked the park board to be ready to make some recommendations. They're holding a special meeting on May 29th. We have heard back from Skyline, the low bid on the project, on some possible credits, that if we're to remove certain aspects from the project, what they're willing to provide a credit. As we get closer to that timeline, the fundraising group has been meeting weekly. They've had actually several successes as of late, including one pledge of $250,000. So we do have a ball field name spoken for. There's still room for one more, as well as the overall park complex. So, well, eventually the rest of them.
Go for the whole enchilada at once.
Well,
Travis,
you know,
come on.
let's get the funding secured for the first phase. And then, so that's some good news to report. But again, anticipate that resolution on the agenda. Recommendations will come depending on where we're at fundraising wise, as well as the different considerations park board's going to make as well. Also wanted to note that Hively Phase 1 is underway. That got started today, so you may have noticed a number of saw cuts and cruises out here. So please bear with us during that street construction. And then the end of the legislative session was last week. Number of bills introduced. Actually, I believe it was a record-setting year on both the House and Senate side for a number of bills introduced. At the end of the day, no property tax legislation saw the debate floor. However, I would not anticipate that being the same case next year, because this is the first year of a General Assembly, next year being the second. So any bills introduced are alive at the start of next legislative session. I do want to point out that with the end of the legislative session, one of the things that the state is responsible for is adopting its own budget. And so a couple highlights from the state's budget include an increase in spending of $478.1 million, or 5.3% more than last year, which was $8.95 billion. The budget means that with 9.41 billion as their expenditures, they're only going to have revenues of 8.51 billion. That's a $900 million shortfall of revenues less expenditures. So just a couple of highlights to take away from the state's budget. That's all I have.
Anything else from department heads? Council?
Mayor,
Yeah.
I was just going to give an update on the water sewer billing. We have encountered a small glitch. The software company, or Ferguson, who we use Neptune with, they did not receive the bid for the new water meters, and so now for us to continue services with them throughout so we can finish out until we switch over, they have sent us a quote for almost $9,000 to use their software for the next 4 to 6 months. So Travis and I have talked about it a couple times today, and then we will continue working forward, trying to figure out the best way to handle this situation. And maybe involve John. So just to give you an update.
I was going to say, involve John, and that's horrible.
It's nice having John there. Okay, Brent,
I have nothing.
Kirsten?
Couple things, but I'll just limit it to one tonight since we got a lengthy agenda. Had the chamber meeting last week. Travis showed up and gave him a briefing on Hively and the Decorah Athletic Complex and where we stood with all that. The gala went good. They took in more money than they did last year, so it was a good fundraiser for them. They do have an upcoming golf event on June 23rd. So anybody that's interested in playing some golf on a Monday, please sign up. They can use all the revenue they can get. And that's about it.
I'm going to make just a brief note because you're going to be hearing more about it. Well, it was beyond the 11th hour. Somebody said it was in the middle of the night that one of the legislative committees on Senate Files 659, way down at the bottom, included a bill that would allow the state to take charge and take money from the 911, both dispatch and 911. I did attend a press conference today where it had every head of every public safety organization in the state complaining. It's a very, the bill or the piece that they put in is very vague. It's very short, and it says they shall try and do this. So there'll probably be a lot more information coming out about that. Randy.
I just want to give a shout out to our high school athletes that are competing this week, starting at state meets and different things. Congratulations to all ya, and after, otherwise nothing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cody.
Nothing tonight.
Emily.
Thanks to our police officers. I hope you had a good police week. I was down at the car show this weekend just for a little bit. It was really great, so thank you for putting that together. Other than that, I have nothing. I will be gone on the June 2nd meeting, and I will be in Iceland.
Okay. College Drive Bridge improvements, 30% preview, WHKS. Travis?
All right,
Oh,
so I'll give
Travis
a little
and
back
Company.
as
can-
Chase makes his way to the
gonna
podium.
just
I'll
move
give
that
a little
podium.
background.
You're gonna just move that podium over just a little bit? There you
So
go.
the
That's
city
good.
hired WHKS as a consultant engineer on the College Drive Improvements project and gave initial direction to WHKS and staff for a preliminary design. The 30% review, which is what we're doing right now, is to update council on estimated costs, and now is the time that if we want to pivot and make changes in the overall design elements, now is the most effective time to do it. It's the least costly time to do it before WHKS dives into finer details of the plan set. So with that, Chase?
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Travis, for that introduction. Tonight, as Travis said, I'm here to present on the 30% plans for the College Drive Bridge Improvements Project. In your packet are the 30% plans and the 30% construction cost estimate. So I'll review both of those documents with you, but please feel free to ask questions at any time.
Travis, how are you going to put it up here?
5A, I can do that. That's right, we have that capability now.
So I'll just start real quick because the first couple sheets are pretty basic. 8.01, which is the first sheet in the document, is just a typical title sheet, not a whole lot there to talk about. Sheet B.1 shows the current estimated quantities and then a few of the general notes for the project. Where we start to get into the more heart of the project, the plan set is on page D.01. On this sheet, it shows a plan view of the south end of the project. I'll wait for Travis. I'm sorry to put you on the spot,
Nope,
but
you're good. I'm
while it
getting
gets
caught
up
up.
there. But basically, it just shows a plan view or an overhead view of the south end of the bridge. On the south end, we have some bridge approach pavement, which is shown in gray, and then there's also a rec trail, an extension of the trail from the Hively Street project, shown in, I don't know if it's tan, I guess I'd say. Yeah, and then the blue and the pink colors are the ADA compliant curb ramps. So that's obviously the
What page
section.
you want me on, Chase?
Can you go to DO1, please?
D1?
Yes.
It's gonna be way up. Okay.
So one of the first things to notice is that we're showing removal and replacement of the entire bridge approach section on this side. The bridge approach section being the pavement right next to the bridge. We wanted to show the maximum scope of the project for now, but I'll talk more about this later. But in short, we may be able to reduce some of the bridge approach on that side to save cost on the project. You'll also notice a 10-foot trail extension along the north side of Hively from Julian to College Drive. This is a continuation of the trail that will be built with the 2025 Hively Street improvement projects that Travis mentioned started up today. And then also we're continuing the roadway width along Hively Street from that project onto this project with the removal of a portion of the north side of Hively. So there will be a nice continuous corridor for pedestrians and vehicles on Hively. Also of note, we tried to lay out a bump out on the west side of College Drive to store bicycle queues while waiting to cross College Drive. We discussed this a little bit at the workshop. I think that was probably about a month or 6 weeks ago already. We tried a few different layouts, but we couldn't get a good layout to work, basically for a couple of reasons. Number one, that bump out would need to fit with the bridge separation barrier, or the concrete wall between the traffic and the pedestrians. And there was no good way to taper that separation barrier into the street. Probably the biggest reason, though, is College Drive traffic needs all the available width in that area. Obviously, it's about 4 lanes wide. Those 2 lanes for the southbound traffic are a turn lane and a through lane. The two lanes for the northbound traffic quickly develop on the bridge, but more importantly, in my opinion at least, is that turning movement from Hively onto College Drive, the right-hand turn, going north. There's a separation barrier for the bridge right there, so that the trucks have to swing way out and use probably about half of the roadway. And that's for large vehicles, but even straight trucks like box trucks that restaurants use for deliveries and school buses need to use a significant amount of space as well to make that right turn. So those were the biggest issues with that bump out. On page D.02, we show the north side of College Drive. Again, we're showing the bridge approach pavement being replaced. That's in an effort to repair the paving notch, which is what the pavement sits on for the bridge, and then get rid of a bump there, I think. So since we're replacing the street pavement, we will need to replace 2 ADA curb panels. You can see those in the blue again. And then we reviewed moving the ramps, that one on the bottom of the sheet. We looked at moving that to the north so that it could be used when the 5th Avenue turn lane is removed in a future project. But it just didn't work out. There was no good operational layout that we could use in the interim while that project, before that project is taken on. The next sheet, J.01, shows a general traffic control plan for staging the work half at a time along the bridge. Notice that we plan to close Hively Street between Julian Street and College Drive. This will require coordination with the 2025 Hively Street improvements project. And then one other thing to note on this sheet is that we will need restricted width signing for College Drive. We'll discuss its staging in more detail in the next sheets. On J.02 and J.03, we show stage 1 of the construction. This stage includes construction of the west half of the project, which is shown in that magenta type color. We would use a short run of concrete temporary barrier rail, or the short concrete wall, to maintain separation between traffic and the work zone. We need this to keep traffic out of the work zone so that protects the construction workers and the vehicular traffic and the pedestrian traffic using the facilities as well. We show Hively is closed during construction because it'll just provide a safer work zone, again, for the traveling public and the construction workers. Sheets J.5 and J.6 show stage 2, which is similar to stage 1. We just flip it over about the center line of the roadway. And then in this stage, we're constructing the teal color, I guess I would call that. Sheets L.1 to L.3 basically show the work areas in more detail. Like Travis was saying before, we're going to spend a lot of our time on those sheets, putting elevations, slopes, dimensions, all kinds of stuff like that when we have the design hammered out. And then sheet U.1 shows the removals associated with the project. We do have some traffic signal sheets. They were inadvertently left out of the submittal, but those basically show the pedestrian push button poles and pedestrian signal poles being installed with the project. We plan to install those in both corners on the east side of College Drive and then one set on the west side. And then we will continue to use the existing traffic signal equipment that's out there today. So that's everything in the plans, but also in your packet is a 30% construction cost estimate. So the cost estimate shows the maximum scope of the project, we're calling it. We wanted to include everything. We wanted to show what this project, I guess, could be at this point in time. So that means that there are areas that can be cut back from these quantities and this cost. For instance, the bridge approach can be scaled back. We wanted to show what the project could entail, so we showed the entire bridge approach being built on both of them, on both sides. We estimate that scaling back the bridge approach pavement would save the project about $62,000. Our thought is to reduce the approach pavement to save on construction costs because the existing pavement seems to be in fair condition outside of that first 15 to 20 feet, which will need to be removed to fix the bridge. So we don't see an issue with reusing the existing pavement as much as possible, but we wanted to get council's thoughts before moving ahead with that revision. We also wanted to note that the current cost estimate was prepared under the assumption that construction will be staged and traffic maintained through the work areas. We estimate that staged construction may cost an additional $30,000 with the caveat of that's a very difficult number to estimate, but we think $30,000 is a good estimate at this point in the design. Those costs would come from additional costs to build the approach pavement in sections and then the different traffic control devices. Alternatively, if we were to detour College Drive, the out-of-distance travel for a detour would be about 3.7 miles. Obviously, it's a bit of an indirect route that would use Fifth Avenue, Pulpit Rock Road, US 52, Iowa 9, Short Street, Mechanic Street, Water Street. There's no good just go one block down detour. An average of 9,500 vehicles use College Drive per day, and the estimated construction period would be about 2 months, we're estimating, with a detour. It may be 2 or 3 weeks longer with staged construction just because it takes a little bit longer to get everything moved over. So our point is 3.7 miles out of distance. It's an indirect route. You're kind of going around. With 9,500 vehicles per day, it's a lot of traffic. So we recommend doing the staged construction. But again, we want to get council's thoughts and opinions.
And how long did you say the staged construction would be?
We estimate an additional 2 or 3 weeks longer than the detoured construction. So 2 months versus, let's call it 2.5 months.
Okay.
Okay, so just an extra couple weeks.
Yeah, they have to do the same amount of work. It's just a little extra time for the sections, the split up sections. Yep. So that's all I have prepared. Thank you again for your time, but be happy to answer any questions and get some feedback on the bridge approach limits and the staging.
Thanks. If we don't do the whole bridge approach, how long do you think that payment will last? Like, when are we looking at having to redo it?
It's hard to take a guess, but I assume it's been out there a long time. Do you have any idea? Like, John, maybe know when that bridge was built? College Drive Bridge? Oh, so it's probably new pavements.
I was going to say, that can't be the original payment.
I mean, we typically want these pavements to last 50, 60, 70 years. So
Okay. Well, you
without
just said it
knowing-
was and your condition analysis would be fair? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say fair, and again, in my opinion, that's pretty good.
Okay.
It was originally constructed in 1950s, and then it was added
Right.
and resurfaced in 1980s.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, maybe 35 years. There
So
might
they
be
will
another-
be, so they will be repaving the whole bridge? Or
No,
just
that's
the-
what we're asking. We're asking
Okay.
if that we
Okay,
wanted to.
gotcha.
You mentioned like
Thanks.
15 to 20 feet leading up to it is what you'd still do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much additional did you originally contract for or
Yep, so
bid
the
for?
south side shown in the plans is about 75 feet.
Okay,
Because if you go out there, there's a really thick joint. It's called an
Right.
expansion joint, right?
right.
Yep, so we went 10 feet past that on the south side, and then I think we went maybe 15 feet past that on the north side. The limits are a little bit shorter on the north side, must have been a different bridge approach design, but it's still, I think, 40 to 50 feet or so.
Okay,
Yeah, so I mean, we would be reducing it by
by quite a
probably
bit.
2/3
Right,
in
okay.
total.
Thanks.
And like I said, it is a significant cost savings as well, because that bridge approach pavement there's a lot of steel in it, it takes a lot of time to lay it out, so it would be significant.
Sure.
Do you want us to discuss?
Pardon?
I think we have to keep the bridge open, so to me, that's totally off the table. Detouring. And I would be for, unless a city staff member had some compelling reason why we would need to do the entire bridge approach, I would say let's cut the bridge approach down and save $60,000.
Mhm.
That's agreeable, I would say, with me at least, but if John or Travis. have
Looking
any
at
thoughts.
John. Look at John, looking at Mike.
Do you want to use the mic, John?
Mike, that's why
Would
you
you
don't
use
sit in
the
the
mic?
corner.
Would you, John, would you use the microphone, please?
For John, we should just get you one that just sits on your.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that question?
Oh, no,
I'm
I
getting
was
interference here.
just saying that I would be for the reduction in the approach unless for some reason city staff had a compelling reason that we shouldn't be. And I was just asking if anyone on city staff felt like we should do the whole approach.
Reducing the approach, you're still allowing the truck traffic to be able to turn on there,
Yes.
right?
Yep,
No, just redoing the
no.
pavement, just redoing the pavement.
we're doing the length of it.
Reducing,
Well, if you're able to reduce the length of it, obviously you can save some money, but jointing is an important issue, and being able to tie into something that's solid, and that's hard to say just sitting here, but I would think that would be reasonable,
Yes.
depending on the 60% plan set, reviewing that.
And that's where the 15 to 20 feet comes from, is the first joint off the bridge, and it does look to be solid.
So-
But we would
so your
obviously-
opinion, John, that 15 to 20 feet would be enough to alleviate that joint issue?
Well, I think that really is up to the bridge engineers, because
Right.
what they're doing with their slab, as I understand it, is a double reinforced slab. So it's like a self-supporting slab, and it's bridging whatever is underneath there and so on like that. So from a structural engineer standpoint, I don't know if the length makes a difference for how that support works and so on like that. That's really a structural side of things for that answer.
Yep, and since we're not doing a full-fledged bridge reconstruction in that area, it's gonna be a pretty minor excavation right next to the bridge. The shorter length is not a concern. At least, at this point, our design is not a concern.
Great.
Right. Well, I think the mere fact that it's only looking at 2 more weeks longer by never closing that bridge, I think makes total sense. I mean, it's just
Okay.
an extra 12, 15 days or something like that is not that big a deal.
Yep, and a little bit of cost, but
Right,
when
right.
you're talking that much traffic.
Right,
it's-
exactly. Not having to divert them all the way
Yep.
around.
You had to give a really high number for me not to want to call it that, right? Yeah.
Okay, any other comments?
Yes, one right here. Chase, in your remarks, I think when you said that you'd be reusing the existing traffic control equipment, that's just on the north side. The south side, we're replacing that traffic control equipment.
Okay, I would need to double check that with Eric.
Sure,
I'll-
'cause
But I will.
When I'm looking at that, I see a traffic signalization cost of $70,000, and I would
Okay.
hope that is being applied to that, that equipment there.
Okay, I will, yes, I'll talk to our traffic signals engineer and make sure that we're on the same page, and
Mhm.
maybe we'll set up a call just to be sure we're locked in there. Okay, thanks, John.
Okay.
Another
any-
thing I'd ask council to talk about, we brought it up, I think, briefly at the last time, was timing of construction. While it's not pivotal here at the 30% design, but it might give more breathing room to WHKS if the council, so as it's structured today, the plan is to have plans out to bid and this project let with construction to start August, right,
Correct.
Chase?
Yep, correct.
So remember we brought this up last time. What is the better time of the year for this project to be underway with a lane reduction or lane width restriction? Is it while school's in session and Luther's in session? Or do we have the design done and out to bid, December, January for a summer or even a little earlier for a calendar 26 construction summer.
What's Hively gonna be like? I mean, when's Hively getting torn up now, right?
Hively Phase 1 is now with a substantial completion of November 15th or 30th.
Yes.
Yeah.
So really you're asking, do we want the entire area blown apart for the start of school?
Yep.
Or do we want to have it slightly blown apart twice?
Yep.
Boy,
That's a great summation.
yeah. Anybody in the peanut gallery?
Travis, if I could add one thing, I will note at the front end of the project, material orders and deliveries are not going according to script.
Sure. Shocker.
And that has to do with various different reasons that may be out of local control. All along, we've been saying that it's going to be June, July, August construction in the west 2 blocks of Hively Street, but I hedge on that a little bit. I hope that's the case, but with the way the materials are not coming quickly here at the front end of the project, that could affect that section of road work right there.
So I actually be interested in hearing from the fire department and public safety, right? I mean, that is our thoroughfare to the west side. So in terms of public safety perspective, I don't know who's on, if someone's from the fire department or if you can answer that question. It would be nice to know what the fire department thinks of that catastrophe.
They're going to have to respond during a 2.5 month lane restriction regardless. It is more about just the timing of it. So public safety
Right.
consideration is going to be year round.
No, I was thinking if Hively is also constricted and the bridge is constricted at the same time, otherwise it would be Hively would be open, the bridge is constricted, the bridge is open, Hively's constricted. That's all and if it's a wash, then I guess.
Yeah, largely that wouldn't be because the Hively Phase 1 project is gonna, depending on which part of it we're on, it's gonna determine the route out of this building.
Okay.
If they're responding west or north and have to cross College Drive Bridge, it's not so much an issue of whether they're getting there through the alternative route. They're still, again, going to have to get through that lane width restriction. So I don't know that it's going to vary that or matter that much whether they have to go back here and Goose Island around to get to there first before they get to a lane restriction, or if they have to go out the driveway and turn up Mill and then water around for when it's getting close to the bridge.
Yeah, the bridge seems to be the key to it.
Yeah, and that's how they get there.
Right.
I don't know that that's going to be a huge change.
Okay. And my other question would be costs, which is really hard to, I know that, in general you say the best time to do something was the year before when things were cheaper because things just get more expensive. But do you have any indication if we wait a year, which is essentially what we would be saying, how much more expensive things are going to get and how much harder they're going to be to
That's
get?
what I was wondering
and that's
too.
a bit of a double-edged sword here. So right now we're working on a pretty quick timeline, and we're going to put a project out to bid at the tail end of a construction season, or excuse me, midway through a construction season, and want it done by the end of the construction season.
Sure.
So that might drive up the project costs unless the contractor is hungry and needs more work to keep it's really hard to guess at this point. If the contractors need the work to keep their crews busy through the end of the season, then the numbers might come in low. Chase is not along here that in agreement. So I can't give you good guidance one way or another.
And we can't put it out to bid with that? I mean, can we say you could do it this year or next year to the contractor, whichever's cheaper?
So that's what I was going to get at. What you could do is allow for contractor's choice. You could say, give them a deadline. Actually, this is just what we did for the Carlson Park project, where we gave a deadline that allows them to do it this construction season yet, but you still have next year to do it as well. So we could give it a substantial completion of August 1st of 2026, and they can either get it done yet this season, or wait till the spring and catch it in the summer.
One thing to add to that is we would put provisions in there that if they crack into it this year, it needs to be buttoned up.
Yep.
By winter time.
Okay. That
They
was
may
my-
not have everything done, but they need to they can't leave a big hole in the road over
Right,
the winter.
right, or half dug out or something.
Yeah, and we would also put restrictions to say, you can't start it now and then finish it in August of next year. You need to work,
Pick one.
successively.
Done this summer or next summer.
Yeah, yep.
So we can bid it that way, and if the council does not have a preference on summer tourist season or school year, start of the school year season, that's how I would recommend moving forward with that plan, that we won't, if the contractor can't get it done this year, that'd be great. But if not, give them next year, give a little bit more flexibility. That typically does drive your bid cost down.
I mean, I think it's I think there's pluses and minuses to both, so I could see either way.
I think it makes sense to do it in the summer irregardless. I mean, whether it's this summer or next summer.
Yeah, I
Makes more
agree.
sense.
So you're saying contractor choice?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Hey, do you know of anything else you need to have clarified?
No, the only reason I brought that up is if there was desire to say, no, we just want June, July, August
No.
of 26, then it gives WHKS a little breathing room. But what I'm hearing is, nope, we want to put it out where they have their option of one or the other, so it's still expedited.
We'll have it done shortly after the 4th of July, I think is what the
I
schedule
think
said.
that was the
I mean, I
plan.
think it makes sense to try to, if it's possible to get it done this summer, given costs could go up quite a bit by next summer, so I think that makes sense.
Okay, any other?
I just have one question.
Yes.
We could potentially save the $62,000 with the bridge abutment, because it looks like it's good. Down the road, is that tied into the project? Like down the road, if we need to replace it, is it gonna be more difficult having not done it this time, or is it just its own thing and it can be?
I think you can look at it separately.
Okay, great.
I don't see any issues if in 10 years, for whatever reason, the rest of it fails. I think it'd be just like it would be had we replaced everything, basically.
Great. Awesome, thank you.
Chase, I have one question or one thing for you to bring back to your design engineers also. Talk about whether or not the stage 1, stage 2 can be flip-flopped.
Okay.
And I'm just thinking about what I just talked about with the Hively Street supply chain. Whether or not we should talk with our contractor here, Skyline Construction, to find out what kind of time frame you've got going on so that it makes sense for how the bridge is affected there.
Sure.
It would be unfortunate to have Hively Street paved but not accessible from the bridge
That makes sense.
when that west 2 blocks is open there. So we'll
Yeah, we'll be in touch about that, and
Sure.
sounds good. We'll review that.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very
Anything
much.
else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
thank you. Consent agenda.
Give me a second here to
Okay,
stop screen share. All right. Item A, minutes of the May 5th, 2025 council meeting. B, claims. C, tobacco license alternative nicotine vapor store, Bright Brothers, Decorah Vape Shop. D, device retailer permit, Bright Brothers, Decorah Vape and Smoke. E, tobacco license, cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, and vapor, Hy-Vee Inc. F, renewal of Class E retail alcohol license, Magpie Cafe and Coffee House. G, amendment of Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service, Winship County Fair. H, C3 design permit for D-Rock LLC, at 109 East Water Street contingent on DHPC endorsement. I, change order number 1, Decorah 2024 Quarry Street improvements, final project quantity adjustments. J, final pay application number 2, Decorah 2024 Quarry Street improvements. K, resolution accepting Decorah 2024 Quarry Street improvement project as complete. And L, change order number 1, Decorah 2025 Hively Street improvements.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Chisel. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Motion carried. Conduct public hearing on proposal to enter into a water revenue loan and disbursement agreement. Give some background on that, please.
Yes. So I'll give background for both items 7 and 8. 7 is the public hearing, 8 is the actionable item. So, public hearing was set at the April 21st meeting. This public hearing is required before the city can enter into that revenue loan disbursement agreement with the state's revolving loan fund. The city budgeted to borrow $1.5 million associated with the water meter replacement project. The current 20-year loan rate is 3.09%, and no written comments or objectives have been received at this time. Again, the city awarded that contract of just over $1.5 million to Metering Technology Solutions for the installation of the water meters throughout the city.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Hearing, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider resolution taking additional action on the proposal to enter into a water revenue loan and disbursement agreement.
I'd move for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Neal. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Roll call?
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Okay. Conduct public hearing on proposed plans and specifications, estimate of cost, and proposed form of contract for the construction of the Decorah 2025 Carlson Park Gateway Trail Project. Want to give background on that, please?
Yeah, so items, again, 9 and 10, I'll give background together. 9 is the public hearing, 10 is the actionable item. Public hearing was set at the April 21st meeting and required by Iowa Code for a project with an estimated cost of up $206,000. The proposed project includes the construction of 5.7 miles of natural surface mixed-use trails in Carlson Park, including a 1-mile bike-optimized, feature-rich mountain biking skills course and 2 progressive gravity trails, a short beginner cross-country loop, bank turns, ramps, rapid elevation changes, rock features, and climb trail, and approximately 4.7 miles of mixed-use bike-optimized multi-purpose trails, mix of beginner and intermediate difficulty levels. No written comments or objections have been received at this time, and the Board of Park Commissioners recommends approval.
I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Come up, name your name and address, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Benji Nichols, 412 Oak Street. I'm also Vice Chair of the Decorah Parks Recs Commission and part of the Carlson Park Trails Coalition as well. So thanks for hearing this tonight. I'm here to voice my support for the bid that was received by the city. A couple unique things about this project. The Carlson Park project and the Gateway piece in specific have been in motion for over 5 years at this point, going on 6, with broad public support most all along the way. This is Decorah's first public park that actually has a full comprehensive plan. That is something we've talked about for a very long time and not done for any other piece or parcel up to this point in time. So this is the first time we've actually done a comprehensive plan for a park. The Gateway Trail project is really the first piece of that plan that we are actually taking action on and looking at putting in place, which is a beautiful thing. The project already received broad public support, over 100+ individual donors, equaling over 6 figures of funding. That's under the Community Foundation funds where we're at. Decorah Rotary, making the Benzebo project possible last winter. And then the support, of course, of the Iowa DOT SRT grant, which is adding almost $300,000 of funding to this project. The bid received is incredibly competitive. It also works within the city's timelines to some creative work on Travis's part as well. We're fortunate to see a bid of this quality, also at a cost and time when trail builders are incredibly busy and getting pickier all over the country. So it's a great thing to see come through. One other thing we know is that due to the SRT funding, there could be some extra steps in this project, a little bit of extra oversight depending on what the state asks us or asks or wants to see. But that's a pretty cool thing. This is one of the first 2 or 3 soft trail projects that the state has awarded to with SRT funds. And that also kind of leads to showing Decorah has invested both in our recreational amenities and tourism draws in kind of a creative and different way, which is a really neat thing. Carlson Park Trails Coalition is excited to see this step move forward. We're ready also to give additional help in pieces like wayfinding, signage, donor recognitions, and also realize that there'll be ongoing maintenance to a project like this, and that's something we would like to help support. That would also be the first time really that I'm aware of in the Park Rec Department that there might be some like ongoing funds for maintenance for one of our facilities, which is a great model. So I'd ask you to consider a resolution on it and awarding the contract. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Benji.
Anybody else who would like to speak? Hearing seen none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider resolution on proposed plans and specifications, estimate of cost, and proposed form of contract for the construction of the Decorah 2025 Carlson Park Gateway Trail Project and awarding contract.
I recommend, I recommend awarding the contract for the 2025 Carlson Park Getaway Trail Project.
Second.
Okay, I have one in one ear and one in the other. Okay, Cody.
Well, let Cody.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, motion made by Neal, seconded by Whittle. Any further discussion?
Not that I want to make the meeting go too much longer, but I do think I should point out the engineer's estimated cost and the contract price.
That's right.
So, engineer's estimated cost for the project was $575,000. The city received 1 bid from Pine Creek Trail Builders LLC of Decorah in the amount of $469,084.49. That's nearly $106,000 or 18.4% below the engineer's estimate, and we'd recommend award. To Benji's comments during the hearing portion, for comparison, Phase 1A, when we went out to bid with that project last spring, actually almost the same time this year, the city received 1 bid from Steele and Associates, which was based out of Georgia, with a base bid of nearly $340,000, which was 70% over the engineer's estimate, and an alternate bid 36%, or excuse me, $36,000 or 88% over that estimate. So we rejected that bid and regrouped, combined the 2 phases, applied for the Iowa DOT State Recreational Trails Grant, and we're recipient of nearly $300,000 for that. So bringing our local contribution way below what Phase 1A was going to cost us moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you.
While I'm grateful that the variance was 105,000 or almost 106,000 less, do we know why there was such a big difference in the 2 numbers?
I've got some speculative thoughts
Okay.
that since they're
Maybe
from
you don't
Decorah, Iowa,
Okay.
that and it's a relatively new company that they wanted to make sure they got this.
Okay.
And I think there's also some community minded support of this project, maybe from the company as well. So all purely speculative.
Well, I'm grateful that it's $106,000 less, so.
Yeah.
Great.
And
The
I'll,
nice thing about being in Decorah, Iowa, is if it goes south, I know who to call.
Got them on speed dial.
Yeah.
but all locally, which is
Good.
wonderful. Okay, roll call?
Neal,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Conduct public hearing on vacation and conveyance of Lot 10, Block 14 of Wheeler's Addition. Can you give some background on that, please?
Same thing, 2 items, 11 and 12, 11 being the public hearing, 12 being the action. I'll give background for both. So this public hearing, again, set at the April 21st meeting and required prior to the disposal of city-owned property. The proposed vacation of Lot 10, Block 14, Wheelers Edition, is a previously platted alley where the southern portion has already been vacated and conveyed to the adjacent property, not the one that's requesting this proposal. Planning and Zoning Commission has reviewed the proposal and recommends approval, and we've received no comments or objections at this time. The overall proposal is for the cost of $1 and all other costs associated with the vacation and conveyance borne by the city. And this is being sought in relation to agenda item 19 later in the agenda as part of an overall addition to the adjacent commercial building.
Oh, did I open the public hearing? Okay. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing seen none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider resolution vacating and conveyance of Lot 10, Block 14 of Wheelers Edition.
I'd move to approve.
Second. Go ahead, Olson, get out.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Olson. Any further discussion? Hearing seen none. Roll call.
Chisel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Parker.
Consider public hearing on fiscal year 2025 amendment. I mean, Carrie's working with this.
For the amendment for the current fiscal year, we are proposing an amendment of $817,000, roughly $817,000, to go over some of the pricier items. Public safety had 2 officers that left that had payouts close to 20, or a little bit over $20,000 between the 2, which also meant overtime for the officers and hiring another officer and sending them to training. General government, we had to account for the generator project that leaked into this fiscal year that we had not planned for. Community and economic increase there is SMID. SMID is planning on some pretty good projects just so we can give them that spending authority so they can spend what they do have in their fund. TIF, there is a project that was not originally budgeted due to some certification issues that we need to correct. Culture and recreation, majority of that is with the library. I do believe that Krista maybe sent an email out today regarding what their plans are, but that's for the interior of the library building. She just wants to make sure that they have the spending authority if the opportunity comes up where they can start on the project. And public work had additional expense to the compost grant, and then the asphalt street project bids came in higher than anticipated.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 amendment. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this? Hearing seen none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider resolution approving fiscal year 2025 amendment.
Motion to approve the amendment?
Second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Chisel. Any discussion? Roll call?
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Whittle.
Aye.
Consider resolution authorizing letter of support to the Iowa Economic Development Authority for Decorah Ventures extension request. Travis?
Yes, the city issued a letter of support for an initial application to the IEDA in July of 2024 for Decorah Ventures, supporting their 10-unit per building, 5-building townhome project with resolution 3476. That project is underway, but Decorah Ventures is requesting an extension on their workforce housing tax credits through IEDA and need a letter of support from the city as part of that request. So that's simply what this is that we're supportive of the project and they need more time.
Motion to approve the resolution authorizing letter of support.
Second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Chisel. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Consider resolution supporting the submission of an Iowa Economic Development Authority workforce housing tax credit application for Allison Rentals LLC and Building Supply Site.
So this request from Allison Rentals LLC, including Dropbox, are a couple renderings of what they're looking at pursuing. However, not exact. They want to give illustrations so that the council knew what direction they were trying to get. But the developer intends on one building, 3 stories high, on the north end of the building supply site that would have commercial on the main floor and then 2 stories of apartments, 10 apartments per story, so a total of 20 units. The city has previously approved a similar support at this site with, again, a different developer, but an item to note on this, which is the same case before, this resolution does also pledge the city's financial consideration of at least $1,000 per, or in funding per unit. In the way we have achieved that in the past, and I would recommend we do as well as this project, is either abatement or rebate. Both are eligible $1,000 of contribution to the project.
You said abatement, what was the other one?
Or rebate.
Rebate, okay.
Do we know what kind of rent they're looking at for, potentially for these? Or they
Do not.
haven't even
They're
got that?
still, they're still
Okay.
trying to finalize what the actual layouts and
Okay.
design are.
Sure. I see we have another project on here, agenda item number 21, that's on the same area down there. Are either of those gonna affect the other one?
Shouldn't, because I believe 21 sold the property to
Okay,
this owner.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I was gonna say, this is
Not-
a recent transfer of property.
right.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep,
okay,
Because this is not who
Good.
we were working with before.
good.
correct.
More housing helps.
More housing.
That's right.
I'd move for approval with a rebate. If they don't fulfill it, we aren't out anything.
I'll second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Neal, approval with the use of rebate. Any further discussion?
Sounds good.
Roll call?
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
I also appreciate this. We've talked about the potential of having housing in that area. And from the designs, I think it will be a nice addition. Consider resolution approving the Winnebago County landfill comprehensive plan.
The city is required to provide a solid waste reduction plan to the state of Iowa, and the proposed comprehensive plan that's prepared by the Winnebago County landfill, of which we are a member, does meet this obligation. So by adoption, we would then submit to the state as our overall waste reduction plan.
Motion to approve the resolution?
Second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Chisel. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Parker.
Motion carried. Resolution establishing rank of statement of qualifications for the Hively Street intersection improvement projects. Can I get background on that, please?
Yes, so the city council decided at the April 7th meeting to construct the remaining Hively Street from the fire station to state as one complete project completed by August of 2027. coinciding with the new elementary school planned opening. To achieve this, outside engineering consulting is needed to prepare the plans in time for that bid. So council issued a request for qualifications after the discussion at that same meeting. The city received 6 statements of qualifications in response. Committee of Mayor Borowski, Councilmember Zittergruen, myself, City Engineer John Yelly, and Public Works Director Mike O'Hara evaluated the written responses first and had a fairly tight cluster at the top, interviewed the top 3 firms, and as a result, we are recommending the proposed rank in the resolution with the top 3 firms as MSA, number 1, ISG number 2, and Shive Hattery as number 3. In the way this is now required by Iowa law, we have to adopt this ranking and then negotiate a scope of services first with the highest ranking, and if for some reason we cannot come to terms, then we can move on to number 2 and number 3. But we are required to go about this process.
So we can say who we would like to award it to, but then,
The council could change. I mean, I include the statement of qualifications in the council packet, so upon your own review, if there is discussion that you guys want to reorder based on those statement of qualifications, otherwise, just simply approving the resolution that establishes those rankings. I then I go back to the MSA, work out a scope of services agreement, council approves that at the next meeting.
I really appreciated Travis's work as far as being able to interview the ones. I also appreciated Steve's, I'm too bad he's not here, I'll have to do it next time, his involvement in it and discussion, and I felt that it was an interesting process. I also felt, I think the whole group felt that all 3 were well qualified, but that we felt MSA had the most experience and the staffing.
and if we pass this resolution, we stay with the top 3. What happens if you get to 4?
So if we hit 4, then we got a problem.
Okay,
No,
because I'm not okay
Then we
with
would
4.
just come back and we
Okay.
would rank the top 6, but numerically, they all have a ranking.
Okay, all right. So I make a motion that we establish the resolution establishing the rank of the statement of qualifications for the Hively Street Intersection Improvement Project.
I'll
as
second.
directed.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Olson.
I have full faith that the people that were on this committee did the proper job of coming up with MSA as the top ranking one. So I think it's a good idea.
And I should clarify then we have a problem comment. Of the 6 responses, every firm can certainly provide the service, no issues there. I'm just joking that if we can't come to terms with the top 3 firms, then we have to move on to number 4. That's the issue.
I figured.
All 6 responses were great. 5 of the 6 firms actually took a considerable amount of time, hour and a half, 2 hours, to meet with myself, Mike, and John to get a better idea of the overall project. And so, a lot of interest, honestly, in Decorah right now.
Great.
Did any of them render any opinions on a roundabout in this particular area?
Do you want me to give you that answer?
No.
Because they all did.
Okay.
Is it a simple, quick answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
The simple, quick answer is, oh yeah, prime candidate.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Whittle.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider site plan approval for Dental Associates of Decorah at 501 Sanford Street. Travis?
Okay, so again, this is the agenda item that the conveyance of the alley was part of, so there's gonna be some details in this letter that are no longer going to be relevant once we execute and follow through with that. So we received an application from Dental Associates of Decorah for the construction of an addition to the existing principal structure. City Code Section 1736020 requires the proposed development submit a site plan for review by the P and Z Commission, or excuse me, reviewed by the P and Z Commission and a recommendation made to the City Council. City engineer's review is provided in Dropbox and makes the following comments. One, the site plan should reflect all lots of record, including the overall site, and make sure correct. Also need to show all existing structures for reference. Two, off-street parking portions are shown as crushed rock. Now, this has been updated. There are two site plans in the Dropbox. So the letter refers to the first one reviewed. Then there's a second set, which a number of these issues were addressed. So the updated plan addresses number two. Number three, off-street parking does not meet setback requirements of 15 feet from city right-of-way. This has not been updated on the plan, but there is, in talking with the architect on the project, there's ample space within the parking that there's existing parking actually on the north side of the property right off Sanford that is in violation of our city code. It's within the right-of-way, and it's also certainly not 15 feet away. So they can fit that extra spot elsewhere in the parking lot as well. Item 4, parking the boulevard is prohibited. Updated plan corrects that. Number 5, we can disregard that one. 6, sidewalk is not included along Sanford Street. Again, this item was updated and the new plan corrects that. 7, no trash enclosure shown, which is a code requirement if one's gonna be there. 20 feet, excuse me, item 8, 20 feet rear setback is not met since it's been vacated. This one is now corrected. Item 9, site plan does not include contours and states no change in topography is required. 10, no utilities are shown on the site plan. Staff's understanding is none are expected. 11, any signs need to be submitted to the zoning administrator for approval. And 12, owner is responsible for obtaining necessary permits. Last two are just kind of catch-alls and notations for the owner. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval be contingent upon items 1, 3, and 8.
I make a motion to approve the site plan contingent on items 1, 3, and 8.
Second.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Parker. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Neal?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Chisel?
Aye.
Whittle?
Aye.
Consider site plan approval for Bruning Rock Products at 1656 Highway 9. Travis?
Okay, so same thing. This is a site plan approval. The city has received an application from Cresco Building Services on behalf of Bruning Rock Products for the construction of an addition to the existing principal structure. City Code 1736020 requires the proposed development submit a site plan for review by P&Z and recommendation made to council. City engineer's review is provided and includes the following. Item 1, property is currently serviced by septic system and should be connected to city sanitary sewer main. In talking with the contractor that they are intending to do this as a regardless. Number 2, site plan should show all easements that exist for the property. 3, parking space appears to be sufficient for parking requirements of proposed use based on the amount of undeveloped property. 4, site plan shows majority of the existing parking as crushed rock, but no changes are proposed to the parking lot. Item 5, all parking stalls should be striped on the site plan because there is parking around, there is pavement around the building itself with parking on as part of that. No outside garbage location is identified on the site plan. Item 7, sidewalks are not shown on the site plan. 8, water main utility easement needs to be identified as well as private utilities and right-of-way. 9, height of proposed addition needs submitted to FAA for approval. 10, any signs need to be submitted to zoning administrator for approval. And 11, owner responsible for obtaining necessary permits. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval be contingent upon items 1, 2, 5, 8, and 9.
I'd move for approval with the contingent items included.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Olson. Further discussion? Roll call?
Chisel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Consider site plan and C3 design approval for SKJ Properties at 302 Washington Street. This is the one that's connected to the other one we talked about?
Same area, yep, same area, different parcels, but a lot of times we just kind of view them all as one site, right? City Code Section 1504-040 states Historic Preservation Commission will review a C3 plan design application and may provide an advisory recommendation to the P&Z Commission, which has been included in Dropbox as, that's not the right number in my background notes. That should be a 021 file number. P&Z shall review the application for conformity with the regulations and standards in Chapter 1504 and either approve or disapprove of the application submitted to council. C3 plan design application submitted by SKJ Properties, Johanning Meyer Stone at 302 Washington Street for the construction of a warehouse as an accessory building. C3 design site plan review of the commission is for both the exterior of the properties of the building as well as the overall site. So the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of both the C3 design, of which DHPC has endorsed the proposed project. The city engineer's review is provided, includes the following for the site plan. Item 1, C3 design needs approval. 2, legal description in project notes appear to be missing 2 lots of record and should be corrected. 3, site plan does not include contours and states no change in topography is required. 4, no utilities are shown on the site plan. Staff understanding is none are expected. 5, current parking lot is gravel. Plan indicates that will be paved. 6, no outside garbage location is identified in the site plan. And 7, owner is responsible for obtaining necessary permits. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval be contingent upon items 1 and 2, but assuming one singular motion is made to approve both the C3 site plan design the C3 design plan and the site plan, then you don't have to list that item 1 as a contingency. So
I
if
don't
you
know, I mean,
approve
it's
both
so
and say
beautiful there
just
right now.
contingent on item 2, that's the recommendation.
I mean, anything is an improvement.
Motion to approve the site plan and the C3 design,
Okay.
contingent on item 2.
Second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Neal. Further discussion? Roll call.
Olson,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Whittle.
Aye.
Consider issuance of requests for qualifications for Decorah Municipal Building potential renovation with addition or new construction. Travis?
Yes, so the council discussed at the Fire Station Municipal Building at the May 13th work session. Consensus of those present was to end services with Brunton and issue an RFQ. Reached out to Brunton. They viewed the contract as complete because it does have a 20-month timeline in there. And they also viewed, since council did not approve with the last 2 items listed as Exhibit B, that they viewed it as complete. So I also have that in writing so that that contract is done. So the proposed RFQ seeks proposals from qualified consulting firms to conduct a comprehensive evaluation of the existing Decorah Municipal Building, which houses the city's administrative offices, Parks and Recreation Department, and Fire Department. The purpose of this evaluation is to assess and compare these 3 options. 1, renovation in addition to the existing structure to create a public safety building. So it displaces administration and Park Rec. We're not having them, in that scenario, not asking them to figure out what to do with us or costs associated with that. 2, complete demolition and construction of a new facility on the current site to serve only the fire department. And then 3, and I'll explain why in a minute. And 3, complete demolition and construction of a new facility to serve the fire department, administrative offices, and parks and recreation. So by doing items 1 and 2, we can get a fairly apples to apples comparison
Right.
on needs of the fire department and the cost of renovating this facility to meet their needs versus a new construction cost of their needs. The second and third option, by comparing those two, we can deduct from the difference what the cost of adding administration park rec to this building as part of a new construction and keeping all the services here. We can evaluate that difference and using the present value of money determine whether it's in the city's long-term financial best interest to include on this site as part of one building. Is it on the same site, maybe in a different standalone building that might help lower some costs? Or does that present value of money buy us a long-term lease as a potential option, like I had brought up the interest with a developer on potentially doing where administrative park rec offices are on the lower level of a commercial building with upper story residential. So then we could know what's that amount gonna cost us.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like reading this, it felt like, finally, I felt like we were gonna get some really clear answers.
I
So
agree.
thank you. I think it's well-written and
I
Appreciate it.
agree.
Thank you.
I wasn't at that meeting, but boy, this sounds like a great plan going forward to
Yeah.
be able to compare apples to apples and apples to oranges and getting a feel financially where we're gonna be to go down the road.
So in the RFQ, I do note that the city intends to use the construction manager at risk model so that they know that expectation, as well as that we expect to place a bond referendum on the November 4th ballot for around $10 million, and the selected consultant firm will support the city in public communication and planning leading up to that referendum.
Thank you.
Now, one of the other things I'll point out about this RFQ is, and this will be one of the selection criteria, how they're evaluated, is I put it on the respondents to tell their methodology, how they would go about evaluating the cost effectiveness of each one of those options. So we're not just gonna evaluate which firm is the best of the firms, but which one is providing us the best path to make that decision.
fantastic. Hopefully that'll take off some of your, that you can just hand us their work then.
Well, and that's, I hope I feel like I must have captured the sense of what May 13th,
I
what
think
that
so.
You did, you
discussion
really
was,
did. You nailed it.
Yeah,
in
I
the
agree.
RFQ. But, so anyway, that's the basis of this.
I appreciate the thorough presentation that you gave, considering this was just last Monday that we talked about this.
Tuesday, right?
Tuesday,
Yeah.
I appreciate all the hard work everybody did,
Right.
as well as Travis, to come up with this. This is great.
okay. Let's see, you're looking for action, correct?
Oh,
Correct.
I
So
make,
this would be to issue, responses would be due, I did not put that in my background notes. Responses would be due,
May 13th? No.
nope, that's when
Oh,
we had
that's
our
not it.
meeting.
they're late.
Make sure you had it on
Got
there.
a date on there.
It's on the actual document itself. It's right on the cover page. I just gotta get there. A long council packet.
June 20th?
Yep, June 20th.
Due date, yeah, June 20th.
I make a motion to pass the request for qualifications for the Decorah Municipal Building.
Second.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Olson. Roll call?
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Whittle.
Aye.
Motion carried. 2 vacancies continue on the Decorah Human Rights Commission. Any other matters to come before the council?
So we did actually take a phone call just this afternoon. Sure. So the Washington Warriors, I think, is the event. Warriors on Washington, the yoga on Washington Street. That is currently scheduled for this Wednesday, and we are supposed to have inclement weather. So we received a phone call about a rain date and postponing. Said, sorry, these are set by council. We've unfortunately got a meeting here in just a few hours. We can't do an agenda post or anything. Best we could do is maybe poll the council members present on a 2 weeks from Wednesday, not just 1 week delay, but 2 week delay, and give their insights. Basically, we could poll you guys if you're good with a rain date of 2 weeks from Wednesday, and then turn around and have it on the next council agenda to accept that street closure the Monday before.
What time is it? It's at night, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 5 o'clock.
Well, hey, look at him. I'm not a attendee. I don't know.
I think it was,
So June 4th, they would want it.
It would be June 4th. She did not have that much interest. She was really hoping to keep it one a month, but we thought we would pull you just in case you
will
changed
that make it so that it's 2 in June? 'Cause that was a,
And
I
maybe the
understand
weather
the
will
reasoning.
change and.
So what is the, so I do actually want to know the time if it's 2 in June.
I think it's 5 o'clock, but.
Okay.
I believe
Or
it's 5.
4. What is it? 5:30.
Okay.
June 18th is the one that's on the books. What is the last hour? I have no idea.
I do know, I understand why they wouldn't want to have it, but, I mean, not but just to note that the business people downtown were not, enthused about using that night. So,
Is there something else that night on June 4th?
no, it was just that they didn't like having the street closed that many times in a month,
Oh, yeah. And that's, I mean, I think we have to be sensitive to that, for
right?
sure. I think it's okay, but it'd be good this summer if we look at how, I mean, we should probably put it on a calendar at some point. We probably have it. But I am sensitive to that too. It really does make a huge difference for going downtown.
So would you say that the council's preference is to just have the 1 month in June, on June 18th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think she'll be fine with that, the way the conversation went.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay. The only other thing I'm going to bring up, because I had a meeting, quickly bring up today, met with Winship County Recycling on the recycle roll-offs back here, and talked about potential, how we could help assist in a future location for them. Talked about back here, obviously we can't take action, it's not an actionable item. I did talk to them, anything that's back here would be on a very short-term interim basis. I'm actively working on other developments back here, but there was interest, 2 spots, one on the asphalt paved portion of the area released from the reserve site. So there's a portion here on the far east end that was released. Largely by having it paved, it makes it easier on the trucks and people's access, of course. But the other was on the far north end of the property where the existing fence is. As you recall, as part of the release, we have to install a new fence on, the northern edge of that parking lot for the Reserve Center. If we were to leave the rest of the existing fence around and do something, let them do something there in their interim, that would be a great garbage collector, that fence. Because anybody that's down here on the regular knows that there are irresponsible recyclers out there that leave piles of stuff next to the bins, and it does create a lot of especially really windy days, you got garbage blowing all over the place. So I did ask if there had been any discussions with them. They talked about some challenges maybe during fair weeks and stuff, and I said, oh, you know, during that week we can relocate those maybe out to the fire station training center, that parking areas, even if it's the area off to the east there.
Mhm.
You know, and then at that point it was like, their comment was, well, if we do there, then that's already, I mean, that's close enough to Freeport that people can just drive there, and it's like, perfect, problem solved. But that, they didn't know that that was necessarily going to go too well. The other thing that I know has been, it's been a while, but it's been brought up in the past a couple of times about how Decorah doesn't have its own curbside recycling program. And so that could potentially be a way that we get away from the dumpster, or excuse me, not dumpsters, recycle bins. But obviously there's costs associated with that. So whether it's we negotiate directly a contract with Malcolm or with Winnebago County Recycling, and we do it as a utility where we add it to the utility bill, cover a little administrative costs associated with it, and then send the rest to Malcolm or to the Winnebago County Recycling. That's an option too. Obviously, that's a little bit bigger lift than saying, not my problem, go forth and figure it out yourself.
That is the lift I like.
Mm-hmm.
What does that do? Where we are very, very cognizant of workload, but I also, it's been in the sustainability plan. It is something I think that we've been trying to achieve. If we could move to curbside recycling, that would be huge for Decorah.
So you saying that we don't have curbside recycling as far as the city providing?
Or in general, because right now Malcolm does not do it on a, so
Nobody
I
does
used
it
to-
anymore.
Yeah, nobody does.
Nobody has
So
curbside
I
recycling
used
anymore.
to pay extra as a property owner here in Decorah to have
I
Malcolm show
still
up
have it.
every 2
Huh?
weeks.
What?
Yeah, I don't have Malcolm. I have a different provider, and they still, yeah, and they still come pick it up.
Shimmick? What do you
Yeah,
have? Oh,
Shimmick.
That's what I thought.
Oh,
Yeah,
did not know that.
$4 a month. It's my time. Oh, yeah, it's
Shimmick's-
maybe not. Maybe don't quote me on that, but it's pretty inexpensive.
I need that number.
I do too, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty inexpensive.
Regardless, I still think the city should have, and I actually think we should have mandatory curbside recycling and mandatory trash pickup. So I do think we should take a larger look at our trash policy.
So anyway, I was just putting that out there as that's a conversation I had today. We'll have to have we don't have to. Again, this is council's choice on how much involved we want to be, but that's a conversation we'll most likely have in the future as well.
Okay.
If
Sounds good.
recycling isn't easy, people won't do it. I do think a city like Decorah has a responsibility to invest in recycling. I mean, we should. We're known for being a pretty green, outdoor-oriented city. It's weird we don't have curbside recycling. So I think we should invest some time, and maybe that is just tasking the sustainability plan with focusing on that when we go through that plan, saying we really want to see this happening in the next year.
We have a rescheduled date for that.
No, I mean, I think they're now waiting on us. So we did at the last, and I will say our last work session, I felt pretty productive for the fire station. We agreed we would not have another work session this month, so we're
Okay.
not gonna do it. So I would suggest we look at that sustainability plan in June. So there was no point in that meeting, so.
Okay,
Has everyone read the plan and given comments?
I did.
Okay, good.
okay. Move to adjourn.